A house is made of wood and stone, but only love can make a home. Welcome to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, helping you make your home into one you'll love even more. On News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hailey, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, Dan.
It's a sad week this week.
Okay.
Well, it's a happy Saturday, but with...
It was a little manic, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of sad things that happened this past week. I found out I'm allergic to mayo.
Okay.
Mayonnaise.
I thought maybe you were going to bring up the Queen. I don't know.
Oh. Now I feel small and petty than normal. But no, yes. I mean, that was bad too. But let's get back to mayo. I love mayo. I can't tell you how much I love mayo. And I don't know what's happened. But all of a sudden, out of the blue, it causes distress and pain. And I don't enjoy that.
No.
And
Do you have a stew?
No. I don't know what to do about it. I feel like there's so many empty parts of my life now that mayo's not a part of it.
Don't eat it is what you do.
But the other people at the table eat it. And that's the thing that's really, I think we should all take one for the team here.
This is going to sound gross to some people, maybe.
Maybe,
but
probably not.
As a person that couldn't have mayonnaise for a long time as well.
Yeah.
Because I was allergic to it, supposedly.
Yeah.
Ranch as a replacement.
Yeah, I'm using that because it's white too. There are a lot of other things in the fridge that are white, but I've tried ranch. It's not mayo.
It's not the same.
I know. Yes, and I'm sorry about the Queen too. I don't know if she liked mayo or not.
Or I
guess
think
that
there
doesn't
are
matter.
vegan options for mayo.
See,
You could
that's
have
a bridge too far.
a fake mayo.
No. I'll just gut through the pain and the misery.
Oh, you're still going to eat it.
Yeah, I'll enjoy my spoonfuls of mayo just like I used to.
God.
That's how I go to bed at night. Anyway, let's get on with the show. We've got all kinds of things planned. We're going to be on the phone with Zack Krieger from Ayers Basement Systems talking about whole home power in the event of
a power outage.
A power outage, yeah. So, yeah, I don't even need to explain any more about that.
It's a generator.
Really feel like I want to because it's my way. But, yeah, that says it all. And then we're going to keep Zack on the phone is the intent. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about all the different things that Ayers Basement Systems offers. I really think they need to change their name. They cover so many different things.
Yeah, they've expanded so much in a different territory that basement doesn't really encompass.
No, concrete, leveling, electrical, plumbing, all kinds of different things. We're going to talk about that because they can be a great solution for a number of different problems that we all deal with in our homes.
Exactly.
But right now, let's talk about problems in the home. I've talked about my problem,
with
a
mayo.
Fridge full of mayo that Dan can't eat. Let's talk about Hailey's problem, cabinets that you painted, which was yay, right? And then hated the color, which was boo.
Sad.
Not so sad, not so happy. So talk about this a minute because there's so many interesting things here. And there's all lessons that we can all learn from this.
Yep.
And the first lesson, I think, that's really off of our script is listening to what we have said would have been a good idea for you. Because you broke a number of different rules.
I did.
Or ideas or suggestions.
I rushed it. I think it all breaks down when you don't really follow the process.
Yeah. So talk about, just give everybody a background about what happened. You're working on your garage. We've talked about that.
Yes.
All of a sudden you find out your husband's got to go away like a business trip thing, right?
Yep, he's going to be out of town over the weekend. And so I think, well, I've got the kitchen I could work on. It's been in the back of my mind for a while now. I've really wanted to change it since I moved into the house. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm kind of on pause. I need someone else there to do the rest of the garage. So I really need some solo project. And I had some paint. So I thought I could just paint the cabinets this weekend and I'll have a completely new kitchen when he comes home and that'll be great.
Right. So you got that going on. I think it's really funny too that you also mentioned that you had some family coming over.
Yes.
That same weekend. So you thought in your mind, this is
okay, I'm going to do this in the next 24 hours. And it's going to be great.
Everybody's going to love my new kitchen. Well, it turns out you put the color on. You had sampled some colors ahead of time. So at least you'd done that much.
Yep.
and you thought you knew what you wanted. You got halfway through and realized, I don't like this green.
Terrible.
You went with the color of the year from Benjamin Moore. That's important. That comes up later.
October Mist,
Yeah.
which is normally, it's a good color. You know,
Sure.
I've used it in other spaces and I've really liked it a lot. I did not follow my own advice in that I didn't specifically sample it in my kitchen space. I just kind of trusted that it would work because I've used it elsewhere.
Okay, that's news to me. Wait a minute now. So you didn't even look. I knew you sampled the colors, and I knew you didn't put it on the cabinet doors.
I sampled other colors on the cabinet.
But you didn't actually even look at it in the space?
I took a piece of something that had October Mist on it
Okay, so
in this space.
and how did that work out for you? You didn't like it at all,
No, it looked completely different. Not at all like October Mist should look in my mind.
right?
And
So you made some changes, found another green, right? I mean, you're depressed a little bit. You're frustrated, disappointed. Let's
a little
say
disappointed because they're
It's
half
not-
painted.
It's not, I can't eat mayo level of depression. It's
Sure.
just disappointment, right?
Yes. And normally I don't make these big color mistakes too, so it's, you know,
It's a
it
little-
was a hit to the ego.
That's why I'm really dwelling on it, because I
Thanks.
really like to,
Yeah.
put the spotlight on this. Anyway, you found a new green, got the paint for that, put that on the rest of the cabinets, painted the
Right.
whole thing.
Yes.
Everything's painted with this new green,
Yes, because I sampled some other greens.
and you still don't know that you love it.
Yeah, I
So
think
funny.
green might be just not the right color in general, like any green. You know,
Okay.
I always had this image in my mind
Right.
that my cabinets were going to be green.
Yeah.
I've just always loved like minty, sagey greens on
Right.
cabinets, even before it was really popular. That's just like a bonus now. And I didn't even really consider other colors because that's just what was in my head as that's what's happening.
Okay, so that's the scoop. That's what's going on. And right now you're on pause. You're looking at that, trying to decide.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now let's look at that and then distill various lessons from that everybody can take advantage of. And, as much fun as I'm trying to have with this, because it is kind of funny that you screwed up the color thing. That really cracks me up.
I just like to
'Cause
rub that in.
I live in that zone. It's fun to see you do this. And I guess that's one thing I want to point out is a lot of us make those mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And the tendency is to think after one or two of those, sometimes just after one,
Right.
I'm
just
not good at this, right? I'm not good at the whole DIY thing. And that's really not the case, because you would consider yourself good at the DIY stuff.
Yes, and I would consider myself like a color expert. So
Yeah.
everyone makes mistakes.
Right. So that's the first thing. Just there are ways to work around it,
Yes.
right? So let's talk about that. And the very first lesson that I think we can pull from this is just it really reinforces the necessity of slowing down.
Right.
We talked about it on previous segments, on previous shows where the idea comes to paint the bedroom this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go and paint the bedroom this weekend unless you've really prepped ahead of time.
Well, it's hard because when we have the energy to do something, it's like it doesn't come around that often, right? So you want to use it while you have it,
Right.
and just get it done. And you have this image in your head of something looking completely different within a short amount of time, because that is like the beauty of paint. But ultimately, you make a lot of mistakes because you've rushed into something that you haven't planned a lot for.
And that was your problem. It wasn't so much that, you had planned.
But not a lot.
You hadn't planned enough. And so I guess there's so many things to think about. The main thing is just understand it's really important to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of connected to that is if you're anticipating a project.
Yeah.
This fall I'm going to probably paint the bedroom, or this winter we're going to get this done, or next spring. And if you've got a project like that, and if choosing color is part of that project, you
Right.
don't have that nailed down yet, start working on it right now, because you don't know. Maybe 3 weeks from now, something opens up. A painter that you had tried to get all of a sudden has an opening, and now you've got to have a decision.
Right.
You don't want to be in that spot where you're like where you were. I kind of have an idea, but I haven't nailed it down, and now I've got to make a quick choice, and I can really make a wrong decision.
Exactly.
Start now, no matter how far ahead the projects are, picking your colors, getting your inspiration, sampling your colors.
Yeah, give yourself time to make the mistakes ahead of time so that you're not wasting a bunch of money and time when you're actually trying to do it.
And that way, if you do have a weekend like you had,
Yeah,
you can jump in
Yes.
and you're ready for it.
Exactly.
Lesson 1. Second one, then we'll take a break and we'll wrap it up on the other side. Second lesson, let's talk about the pros and cons of color trends, right?
right.
Because a lot of the times...
use October Mist.
Right. And a lot of times, if we haven't made choices, and this wasn't your situation, but if we haven't made color choices and we decide I'm painting a room this weekend, the very first thing we always hear in the store is, what's popular right now?
Yeah, what are other people
What's
doing?
the color of the year?
Yep.
And the idea is that, well, if it's popular, if it's the color of the year, if it's a color trend, it's going to work in my space.
Right,
It'll
just
be fine.
automatically.
That's not how it works.
No.
You used the color of the year, and it didn't work in your space at all. It looked terrible.
It looked terrible, which doesn't mean that it's a bad color. It was just not the right color for my space.
In that room, because you have that same
Yes.
color in other parts of the home.
Right, and it's fine. But it was not right for my kitchen, and that happens all the time. The color of the year is not the silver bullet where it's just automatically going to work in every situation. That'd be great, but that's just not how color works. Really, it's meant to be a jumping off point. That greens that are gray and sagey are a trend in general. October Mist is a great version of that. However, if you're going with that direction, you should really be sampling multiple types of green with similar undertones, but that give you a range so you can find the right one for your specific space.
Yeah, the color of the year, it's a jumping off point, not a reason to jump off of something. So yeah, don't take it so literally. Remember that. All right, that's going to be all I think we can cram into that segment. Shall we take a break? Are you willing to hang around?
I have to.
It's your job.
so.
You're going to be here. All right, we'll talk about the rest of the lessons Hailey learned and that we can all take advantage of after she made her huge color mistake in her kitchen. We'll do all of that on the other side of the break. Stay tuned.
Helping you turn your house into your dream home. This is the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, presented by Benjamin Moore on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back, and Hailey, we're talking about your kitchen. You painted your kitchen cabinets, kind of spur of the moment.
Yep, I rushed it.
Didn't like the color, and we all know what that feels like.
Yes.
And if we haven't been in that situation, we most likely
happen
will
eventually.
be. Right. And it's a horrible feeling. You know, you get this room done or you get it partway done. You've expended money on paint. You've put in time, energy, all of that, and you're looking at it thinking, I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you've hired it done. So now you've paid to have somebody.
Yes.
All of these things can happen, and we're looking at these colors and sometimes hating them, and we know what that feels like. It's miserable. So we're trying to prevent that. We can't necessarily fix it or sponge it away once it's happened. Once it's happened, we got to just soldier on like good little soldiers, right? Like I have to do now that I can't eat mayonnaise on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Turns out I'm allergic. I'm going to have to soldier on. So will you regarding your kitchen. But we can learn things from it and hopefully make adjustments and not find ourselves in that situation. We've been talking about some of those lessons. The third one that we want to talk about is just the importance of listening to your space. And it's kind of an out there concept. And we talked about it, but let's talk about what we're really getting at and then how practically we can listen to our spaces.
We talked about the same thing with my dining room, but
that time you listened, though, right?
I did listen that time. I did not listen this time, and that's, I think, one of the problems that I ran into. But what it means really is not forcing an aesthetic onto a space that really isn't right for it. So if you've got a Victorian house with all of this character and you want something that looks sleek and modern, it's probably not gonna fulfill those expectations.
Right, you're gonna constantly be struggling against it. You know, I think about the all white interior look that was really big, is still kind of big. We see it still a lot, and there's aspects of it that I like, but my home, it's just not its thing. It's just not going to pull it off.
No,
and I could try it, and I will have some success. But it's not going to feel like what I thought it was going to feel like.
Exactly.
And that can be a problem. And that's what you had with the kitchen, because you love green. You always wanted it on the cabinets.
Yep. And I just didn't really look at my specific situation close enough to realize that the kitchen was really asking for a warmer color in that space. It's an east-facing room. Typically, warmer colors are going to do much better in that type of light because it amplifies the red-orange light that you already have coming into that space. Cool colors are going to be dulled way, way down to where they look kind of dead in that
That's
light.
what you ended up with.
Exactly, which is exactly what happened.
You have this green on the cabinets. It's the color of the year, October Mist, and you said it looks dingy. It almost looks dirty.
Yes.
It's just a gross green.
You said dead fish.
Yeah.
It's just not
I have a way with words.
good.
All right. So you've got to listen to your space. How do you do that? You pay attention to the architectural elements. You pay attention to what's going on. You've got some heavy trim, it feels like. You know, really dark, rich red, wood-stained trim. You've got to adjust to that, or at least work with that, or change that if you can. And it's a combination of things. Certain things can be painted over and somewhat changed. Certain elements are never going to go away.
Yeah.
And you're better off to change your aesthetic or your target than to try to make the house fit something.
Force it.
Yeah, that it's not going to. So be aware of that. It can really cause some trouble. The next lesson, we can be brief on this one because we've already hit a fair amount of it and we talk about it all the time. But it's the value of sampling colors in the space that you're working with, on the surface that you're going to be painting, and in a large enough scale that you can get a good idea of it.
Right. I think a lot of times people just do like a few little brush strokes on the wall and they call it good. Now it's sampled, but really that sample isn't much bigger than the architectural sheets that we just give away. And that's not a big enough sample size for you to actually get an accurate depiction of that color. Your eye is still factoring in all of the surroundings, and you actually don't physically see the color the way that it's going to look when it's bigger.
Right. You can get a half pint sample can of any Benjamin Moore color, super inexpensive, and it will do a large enough area that you'll get a good view of the color.
Yep.
It's really important. It will save you a lot of potential struggles down the road.
I would have been completely saved.
All right. So the next one, lesson 5. If you're not in love with the results, what do? You know, the tendency is to want to panic. But we're going to say take a deep breath and hit pause as much as you can.
Yeah, I had a really hard time not just immediately buying a new gallon of paint and a new color on Monday morning to get it painted again.
And so many people do. But the problem is now you basically create the same mistakes and the same series of mistakes all over again.
Exactly.
You rush into the next step. You jump into a new color. You buy new paint. You put that on, which you did, and you're still not completely sure about it.
Yeah,
so
no,
take that pause, right? Now, that doesn't mean you always can. You recommend putting the room back together even.
Yes,
that's
you get kind of what I did. Like, after I repainted the cabinets completely with this different green, even though I knew afterwards that I wasn't sold on it 100%, I knew that I really needed to hit pause and just live with the color for a minute, figure out what wasn't working, why it didn't feel right, so that I had more information when I actually need to go back and paint again.
Right. And the whole thing is, it may not feel right just because the room's in disarray. The room's not put back together yet. And, you know, if you've got painting supplies all over the place, we've had people do that. I've done that. I've got drop cloths all over the place and cans on the counter and whatever. Now I'm upset that the cabinets don't look great. Well, nothing looks great with all that's there. At least clean off some of that. Get a good look at it.
Yeah.
And I know it's not fun to pause, but it's way better than rushing into the next stage of things.
And just making the same mistake all over again.
Making the mistake again. So that's that lesson. Last one. We've got about a minute to go. We'll make it quick. If you do decide it's time to pull the plug, it's time to start over. We're not going to be, probably shouldn't say pull the plug. That feels kind of...
Start over.
If it's time to start over, let's make sure we get it right. And we'll just move on, Hailey. Don't even stop and laugh about that. We'll just keep moving. How do you make sure you get it right? Well, you come into the store, any RepcoLite or Port City Paints, and let us help you.
Yes.
Bring in pictures of your space.
Pictures of the target, what you were hoping for.
Yeah, what you were shooting for. Bring in your paint. That will help us determine what's exactly going on. You know, we'll know exactly the color you're working with, how it, comes out in the paint that you've got.
Well, and make sure that it's actually accurate, too. Maybe the problem was that the paint literally didn't tint correctly.
Yeah, who knows? But at least that will give us something to work with.
Exactly.
Maybe we can change it. Sometimes we can. Sometimes we can't. All of that will be just great information. And then talk to a color consultant and we'll get you on the right path.
Right.
All right. It happens to everybody. It happened to Hailey.
Even
and
me.
There's a way through it. Don't freak out. I know it's frustrating, but it can get to good.
Yes.
All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be on the phone with Zack Krieger from Ayers Basement Systems talking about basically standby generators.
Yeah.
That's all just ahead. Stay tuned.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back, and Hailey and I are on the phone right now with Zack Krieger from Ayers Basement System. Zack, I believe you said you're basically the Swiss Army knife, right?
You got it. I do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for talking with us a little bit. We've got you on the phone, and really what we want to dig into is something, well, I guess it's going to come as no surprise to anybody out there, something personal for me. My power went out a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago. I can't remember. The time has blurred together. It was such a horrible experience.
You had a really rough time with that. You complained a lot.
I did.
I suffered. So really it's personal for me too.
A lot of people were affected by this power outage. I had 3 days of no power. The kids couldn't charge their phones. Netflix, all of those things were off the, we couldn't do any of that. And Zach, I'm looking at my refrigerator as time is going by, and, I'm limping along, hoping I'm going to make it, ended up throwing away a little bit of food, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was a pretty minor experience compared to what other people have had. Mm-hmm. I understand that. But
yes.
I know that you've got a solution for it, and I guess I want to talk about that. Whole home power when we have an outage or something. Why don't you kind of walk our listeners through? I know you said in previous conversations that this has been really big for you guys this year.
With all the storms.
Yeah, help us understand it.
Yeah, so we became a Kohler dealer, distributor, servicer, and installer over the past 24 months. And we've become really, really excited about these types of products because it helps our customers in so many different ways, from peace of mind to just having that power in critical utilities when other people don't. And so I think of times where, you've got family members who may have a medical need or, might use something like a medical device, and they absolutely have to have that power at all times. And so these are machines that give you that added protection, that peace of mind. So when the power does go out, your life doesn't stop.
Right.
So what does the thing look like? I'm thinking it's roughly like an air conditioner kind of a thing. Is it about that size? It sits outside permanently? I don't wheel it out of my garage, right?
Exactly. And so, yeah, you're basically looking at an encased generator. It is about the size of an air conditioning unit. I think that's something appropriate to kind of size it to. It looks really great. Kohler does a fantastic job of cleaning it up, so you barely even notice it's on the side of your home. And we can get these done in just one day installations.
Wow. So what's required of my home to install this type of thing? Like, can it go in anyone's home? Does it need to have a certain amount of utilities available?
Well, so there are a couple considerations. I know later on you're going to ask me the size of the generator and, hey, how much does one cost? So I can kind of wrap that up in one statement. Basically, we need to think about how much electricity or how much load is required to properly size it, meaning what utilities do you need available when the power goes out, whether that's a well or a refrigerator, an air conditioner, or a furnace.
Sure.
How many, different circuits, do you have a refrigerator, stove, those kinds of things, appliances. That's going to determine the size of the generator. And then we have to think about, natural gas, propane. What are you using in terms of fuel? And those are a couple considerations that we need to think about, as well as the electricity coming into the home. Do you have the appropriate service to be able to handle the transfer switch and be able to kick that on?
All right, so if it's not, is that something you can help us get up to speed where it needs to be, or is that something at that point where we just kind of part ways or we find some other solution for this?
Yeah, so one of the cool things about Ayers Basement Systems is in the last 24 months, we actually partnered up with Grand Bay Electric and East End Plumbing. So we're really proud to bring them underneath the umbrella of Ayers Basement Systems with the same ownership. We wanted to find a couple companies that shared the same purpose, mission, and values and operated their business the same way that we did. And so we decided to partner up with those guys, and now we're able to provide electrical and plumbing services,
wow,
including the gas service to the generator. So we're really proud of that.
All right. That's really cool. We're on the phone with Zack Krieger from Ayers Basement Systems. And Zach, we're talking about whole house power when we have a power outage or something like that. Let's talk about the value or the benefits of what you would install over, like in my situation, when the power went out, the neighbor had a gas power, just a little portable one that he rolled out there and ran that for a couple days. What's the benefit of what you offer over something like that?
Yeah, so when you're thinking about one of those smaller units, you're really very limited in the amount of power that one of those can actually generate. And so you're probably only looking at being able to power maybe a freezer or a refrigerator, get enough power maybe to plug a couple phones in. You're really not generating enough power to really get a main utility like a furnace or an air conditioning unit up and running at that point. So you're constantly filling this thing up with gas. You're going out to check, is it still running? There's so much of a headache that goes on. And a lot of times you're not even using the one that you own. There's a lot of people that call us and say, hey, I ran across the street and I had to take 300 feet of extension cord and plug into my neighbors so that I could have enough power to keep my phone alive. So really what you're looking at is just the convenience of about 10 seconds from the time that your power shuts off. You're instantaneously going to have power once the transfer switch loads over to the generator. You're going to have whole home power as if your electricity was never turned off.
You know, and if that's the case and the rest of the neighborhood's down, I am turning on every light I've got. And I'm going to let everybody know this house has power. It was funny.
It's like your neighbor.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. A guy across the street and kind of off to the side, the power goes out, Zach, and like 9:30 at night, we were thinking it was going to come back quicker than it did. It took several days, but 9:30 that first night, everything's starting to get dark now. And there's this one house where it's just lit up like a Christmas tree. And the guy's in his garage cutting with a table saw. And it's like, why? It's
just showing off.
It's got to be just to let everybody know I've got power.
It's so funny.
That's awesome. Yeah, I bet he was nice and cozy.
Yeah, they were. And we actually were too, because it was very hot outside. I could have done with being a little less cozy, in fact. Would have loved to have been able to run the air. So you said the process of installing one of these is a day-long kind of a thing. I know that, you kind of hinted at price. I know that in previous conversations before we went on air, you talked about how it's really hard to pin down. Is there any kind of ballpark? Can you just help people get an understanding? Or what do they need to do if they want more information to, at least pursue this? Is this something I want or not?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I want to reiterate is it just depends on the size of your home and what you're looking to accomplish. Like you said earlier, you may want to flip all the lights on and enjoy a party at your home while everybody else is sitting in the dark. And your neighbor may just want to make sure that their air conditioning unit is able to keep, their home cool, and they're not really worried about too much else. So we just take a lot of pride in coming out, asking a lot of questions, understanding what it is that you're trying to accomplish so that we can pair you with the appropriate generator. If you'd like to set up a free estimate, give us a buzz at 866-379-1669, or just check us out online at goayers.com.
All right. We'll put links in the show notes for all of that. Now, Zach, you have partnered with us for this big paint contest that we've been running. We talked about it. We gave a bunch of paint to 10 different winners. Those winners are all working on projects in their home right now as we speak. Yep. One of those people is going to be the grand prize winner, and they're going to get to choose from a number of different prizes. And those prizes are $1,000 worth of services from a number of different businesses. You're one of those businesses. And I'm wondering if you've got just a few minutes, if we could pause for now, take a break, come back on the other side, and maybe just take a few minutes to talk about some of the things that you offer. We talked about the generators and all of that, but there's so much more that you guys do. Maybe to let our listeners know what kind of things they could be winning if they're one of those lucky people. Yeah. And also just, what they could seek you out for if they're just regular folks. All of that. Can you hang with us, Zach?
I'm hanging in there.
All right. We're going to try to keep the line connected and do our best to make sure that we got a good sound connection. And we'll be right back in just a minute with Zach from Ayers Basement Systems. Stay tuned.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back, and Hailey and I are on the phone with Zack Krieger from Ayers Basement Systems talking about all kinds of things. Yeah. Ayers offers a ton of different things. We just talked about generators. And right now, Zach, in the last little bit that we've got, while we've got a decent connection with you on the phone, we want to talk about, we're running a contest. And we've already chosen 10 winners who've won a bunch of paint. And now those 10 winners are all competing against each other.
For the grand prize.
For a grand prize.
Which is $1,000 in services from a multitude of companies that have partnered with us on this. And you're one of those companies.
And yeah, we just kind of want you to give an overview of all the different things, some of the things that winner could choose. And even more importantly, anybody out there who's dealing with any of the issues that you guys solve and fix, it's really good to just be aware there are experts out there. And,
even if you're not a winner.
Yeah, even if you're not. Everybody's a winner, Hailey, but not a big winner. All right? So, Zach, what other things do you guys do?
Yeah, so we do everything from basement waterproofing, foundation repair, crawl space encapsulation to concrete leveling and lifting. As I mentioned before, we can offer all things electrical and plumbing. And we actually started a franchise called Hello Garage, which does polyaspartic floor covering. So really excited about all the different opportunities we have to help our customers. And we'd be happy to help with any one of those services.
All right, let's talk real quickly about, let's see here. I want to go to concrete leveling. I don't know that we've talked about that a lot on the show with you before. Is that a seasonal thing? I'm assuming that's not a winter project. When can you get out and do something like that? When is the cutoff day?
Yeah, we're typically out doing it almost all year round, honestly, until the frost starts to get into the ground. So typically we're going right up until almost Christmas, honestly. And then we take a short break until about the middle of April, maybe the 1st of May. Once we get the ground to thaw out a little bit, we're back pumping foam and bringing concrete back up to level.
All right. So how big a difference can you make? I mean, I've seen videos on this. I don't even know where I've seen them. Maybe your website, maybe somewhere else. But I've seen slabs of concrete raised 4 inches or more.
Wow.
That just really stinks when your concrete has sunk that far. But how big a difference can you make on somebody's driveway?
Yeah, so I mean, I've seen even bigger lifts than that. I've seen 5 to 6 to 7 inches in some cases. We also use this as a stabilizing agent while we're doing foundation repair. So it's got a lot of different interesting uses. We do a lot of pool decks around pools. We do seawalls on the outside of lakes and retention types of walls. So lots of different applications. And honestly, the outcomes are amazing. Our internal motto has become, why replace it when you can lift it? And, you really avoid those quilting type patterns where you see the mismatched concrete. I see that all the time. And it looks nicer. You get a better result. And oftentimes it's much cheaper just to lift it back into position.
Well, I got to get you out to look at my house because I'm sick of shoveling. And I build up a really good head of steam, and then I hit that crack, and you almost impale yourself.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep,
it's
the same thing.
It's a stressful experience. So how quick a process is that? I mean, you come out, I'm assuming you're drilling holes in the concrete, maybe a 1/4 inch, maybe a 50-cent piece. How big are the holes that you drill?
Yeah, they're about dime-sized holes, and something really interesting that we've taken on is we actually will fill the joints and any cracks, and we're able to blend that in with a sand mix. So you barely even know that we were there by the time that everything's nice and level. It looks great. Customers really tend to enjoy it. And I think for me, it's more about protecting people's homes. A lot of times people have some pretty crazy trip hazards that they deal with, or there's things that can harm their vehicle while they're entering their garage. So just really, it's a quality of life thing, but I think it's a health and safety thing as well.
Yeah, shoveling injuries are real, Hailey. So anyway, I love that. Concrete leveling, you guys do that. Basement waterproofing, you've got a number of different ways you can approach some problems down there, right?
Yeah, most of the time we want to fix things from the inside out. And the reason for that is we're able to provide a lifetime warranty that's fully transferable if you ever decide to sell your home. So we've been doing this for over 45 years now. I feel like, we're the industry leader in terms of knowledge and best practices. And so we're part of a dealer network of 150 other basement systems contractors in North America. And combined, we have about over 800 years of experience in doing this. So that's our flagship product, along with crawl space encapsulation. We're really good at it. And I think the best thing about our company is we partner with our customers so that we can understand their key outcome, why they want to accomplish these goals and how they want to use the home in a more efficient manner. And we take a lot of pride in helping people the right way.
All right, so
I have one more thing I want to ask about, because this is something that we talked about last year, maybe around the same time, but it was insulating your foundation. And it sounded like it was a fairly affordable process that would make a big impact. And now I'm in a home and I have noticed over the past couple months that I don't have any insulation there. Can you tell us about that one more time?
Yeah, I think that's huge. And that really comes down to just understanding what a thermal break is. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that, if I put fiberglass insulation either in my rim joist, which is the area just above the foundation before your floor, or if I just roll some bats, insulation bats into the floor system, that things should be warmer. And the truth is, your thermal break is actually at your foundation wall. So you want to make sure that you're insulating both the concrete or block walls along with your rim joist. And you can do that using spray foam, which is really the most efficient, cost-effective way to do that for a permanent solution. So we've gotten into that field, into that industry. We're really good at it. We understand kind of the thermodynamics and how that is going to affect the home. And it just makes such a big difference with energy savings, cost savings, and making, the floor more comfortable on your feet.
Yeah. Ayers Basement Systems. Who would think you cover as many things as you do?
Really
yeah,
cool.
We're really trying to just be a one-stop provider so that we can provide that remarkable contractor experience from the ground down.
All right. So what areas do you cover? Our listening area, and how far do you reach?
So with Ayers Basement Systems, we actually cover the entire state of Michigan. We're really proud of that. And actually northern Indiana, as far as Grand Bay Electric and East End Plumbing go, we're typically about an hour to 90 miles outside the Grand Rapids market. So we will do a little bit of traveling for that. But yeah, as far as Ayers goes, we will definitely, we'll come to you.
All right. A lot of different services, a lot of solutions for a lot of potential problems that people are dealing with. If you have nearly impaled yourself while shoveling, you know what to do now, right?
If you want to light your house up like a Christmas tree when the power's out.
When the power's out. Yeah. All of those great things. Ayers Basement Systems. How do they best get in touch with you, Zach?
Yeah, you can hop online and check us out at goayers.com, or you can give us a call at 866-379-1669, and we'll set you up with a free estimate.
Excellent. Zack Krieger from Ayers Basement Systems. Thanks for talking with us on the phone.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and kind of soldiering through the bad connection at times. Thanks, Zach.
Always appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
Well, Hailey, we mentioned in those last two segments with Zach this big paint contest. We ran it a couple of weeks ago. We gave away 10 prize packages worth $150 each.
Right.
Worth of Benjamin Moore paint.
Exactly.
10 winners. And now those winners are right now working furiously
on their projects.
Yeah, to complete their projects. Coming up in a few weeks, they're going to be submitting before and after pictures to us, which we'll post online. And then we're going to have the listeners and everybody we can get come and vote on their favorite project.
Yes.
And the winner, the one who gets the most votes, is going to win a $1,000 prize package. We have mentioned in the past, I want to mention again, this is why we're talking about it, 3 of the people who vote, 3 random voters, are also going to win $150 worth of Benjamin Moore paint.
Exactly.
So there's still opportunities to win if you weren't one of the 10. But these prize packages, we want to highlight those briefly in the last part of the show here, because we've had a number of businesses partner with us sponsoring these packages, and we want to highlight them, and we will, because we'll be interviewing a lot of them in the upcoming weeks. But right
just
now,
like we did with Zach with Ayers Basement, they've donated their services to be chosen as a potential prize package. But Johnson Carpet, who we've talked to a number of times, they're sponsoring this as well. So you could get $1,000 potentially of flooring for your home with them.
Or whatever they offer, all kinds of different things.
Yes.
Lauren Figueroa, an interior designer.
Right.
So you can get consulting done and not have color mistakes in your home. And let's see here, Dean Veltman.
Yeah.
He's a painting contractor. He does, all kinds of painting, but one of the things he's been on the show talking about in the past were kitchen cabinets. So again, if you're looking to, get that done for you, Dean Veltman, and who else? Landscape Design Services.
Yes.
So landscaping stuff, outside work, we'll be talking to them in the upcoming weeks. I think next week.
Yes, exactly.
We'll be in the studio with Kelly Karp from Landscape Design Services. So we really appreciate all of these businesses who've chipped in. You're going to be hearing more about them in the upcoming weeks.
Yes, even if you're not a winner, you can still at least learn about some services, maybe that's right for your home, and it'll get you on your your way.
Exactly. All right, that's it for today. We're going to wrap it up. If you want to find it again, you can find it online at RepcoLite.com. I'm Dan Hansen.
I'm Hailey Johnson. Thanks for listening.